Hello and welcome to Dogwood Handcrafts. My name is Stephen Joyner, and today I'd like to show you the process I use to create my signature Aurora shaving brushes. These brushes are made using hybrid blanks that I create here in the shop with Alumilite resin and natural edge maple burl wood. For the purposes of this video, I've gone ahead and prepared a brush blank ahead of time. In a future video, I'll show the process behind how the blanks are created. I start by securing the blank in a chuck on the lathe. I use a 1-inch Forstner bit mounted in a drill chuck to drill a hole for the brush knot. I use a small round carbide tool to shape the area around the hole. I checked the depth of the hole with a small ruler. I do a quick test fit of the knot to make sure the loft is where I want it. Then I remove the blank from the lathe in order to mount it in reverse. I use a 1-inch expanding collet chuck in the hole to mount the blank to the lathe for turning. I use a live center to stabilize the blank while the brush is being shaped. I use a spindle roughing gouge to remove material from the blank until it is totally round. Once the blank is round, I turn the lathe up to the highest speed. Next, I use a skew chisel to create a ridge and round the top of the brush. Then I use a smaller spindle roughing gouge to begin a cove for a brush grip. I use a small round carbide tool to add more curve to the cove. Next, I use a parting tool to establish the length of the brush. I leave the excess material attached for stability until I'm ready to remove it. Now that the brush is shaped, I sand the entire surface through progressively finer grits of abranet and sandpaper, stopping at 1200 grit. I take care to remove any scratches as they will be visible through the finish I apply. As a final pre-finish step, I wet sand the acrylic portions of the brush with 1500 grit micromesh to ensure the surface is scratch-free. I dry off the blank with a paper towel and allow time for any surface moisture to evaporate. For the finish, I use multiple layers of thin CA glue. I wipe the glue on evenly with a paper towel and let it dry in between coats. Every few coats, I wet sand the finish with 1200 grit sandpaper to even out the surface. After about 10 coats, I let the final coat dry and wet sand the finish with the 1200 grit paper. At this point, I'm ready to part the excess material from the brush and turn the base. I use a round nose scraper to make the bottom of the brush slightly concave so that it will stand upright on its base. Then I sand the base of the brush until it matches the rest that I sanded earlier. Now I wet sand the entire brush with micromesh up to 12,000 grit. Next, I polish the brush with polish and a paper towel or rag. Then I buff the entire brush on a buffing wheel using blue compound. With the handle now finished, I use silicone to glue the knot in place. I hope you enjoyed this detailed look at how I create Aurora brushes. Thank you for watching, and please feel free to reach out with any questions. You can find a link to my Etsy shop in the description below.